Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. As you all know by now, we are making some changes at the top of the police department. West Palm Beach Police Chief Sarah Mooney has accepted a position as the Assistant Chief of Police for Emergency Management, subject to approval of this position by the West Palm Beach City Commission. And I am recommending as police chief that we hire former Fort Lauderdale Police Chief Frank Adderley. Again, that also is subject to the approval of the West Palm Beach City Commission. Those items will be discussed at the June 3rd, 2019 commission meeting, and we are optimistic that they will be approved. I did want to go into a little bit of my thinking behind this matter. As I campaigned, I made it very clear that public safety would be job one for my administration. And as mayor, I am focused on putting together a talented team to better serve our residents, our neighborhoods, and our community. I want to make sure that we are placing staff in the best position possible so that they could use their talents and experiences to be successful. Now, first of all, I do want to thank Chief Mooney for her service as chief. And I also want to thank her for accepting a new position as Chief of Police of Emergency Management. Chief Mooney has the experience and leadership needed to lead this effort. You know, how the city responds in emergency situations has never been more critical than it is today. Long gone are the days when we thought that emergency management was simply preparing for and responding to hurricanes. In today's climate, today's emergency managers must prepare for all kinds of scenarios, whether it be train derailments, chemical spills, terrorist incidents, or any number of potential life or death emergencies. Given Chief Mooney's talents in emergency management and her solid experience at the West Palm Beach Police Department, she is ideally suited for this role. And again, I want to thank her for the job that she has done in her role as police chief. And I'm happy she will remain part of our team and with the city of West Palm Beach. Chief Adderley, who I've known for a number of years, shares my vision for a safe West Palm Beach and for the future of our city's community policing, customer service, and culture of responsiveness. That, coupled with his strong relationships with neighboring agencies and the local community, I believe will make a positive difference for the department and our residents. He has a proven track record of success in key areas such as Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale being a similar population size, actually it's about double the size of West Palm Beach. Similar regional issues, however, such as homelessness and crime, as well as similar social and cultural dynamics. I believe that those qualifications make him the best candidate for this position, and I'm confident he will take the West Palm Beach Police Department to the next level. I just want to remind everyone that there will be no changes to the current level of service or outreach and engagement programs in the community. I want all of our residents to know that I am fully committed to and am focused on reducing the level of violent crime and murders here in our city. I believe that these changes that I've outlined before will provide significant value as we work to solve these issues and improve the safety of our citizens in West Palm Beach. Now I'll take your questions.
Mayor, this decision that you made, was it because you saw that Chief Mooney's talents could be used in a different position first and then decided to go look for a new chief, or did you already have in mind that Chief Adderley would be the chief you want in the position?
Well, it's a combination of the two. I think Chief Mooney is a perfect fit for this new position. And as I said, I've known Chief Adderley for a number of years. I've observed his performance in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I thought that he would be the best fit for this particular job, and it's kind of fortuitous that they occurred at the same time.
Were there any other applicants or any other chiefs you were looking at, former chiefs who were looking at for the position?
No. Once I had heard from Chief Adderley that he'd be willing to take this position, I was tickled pink, and I'm delighted that he has agreed to accept the position and move forward with us.
Mayor, right after you were elected, you sat down with us and said you wanted to have an honest discussion with Police Chief Sarah Mooney about the state of affairs in the city and when it comes to crime and the high number of unsolved murders in the city. Did that play a part in this decision?
Well, listen, I don't think there's any question, and I've repeated this from when I was campaigning. that I'm deeply disturbed about the amount of violence, the amount of violent murders that's been going on in our city. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago in a city commission workshop, about 2 weeks after I took this job, one of the promises I made when I was on the campaign trail was that whenever there was a murder in our city, and if I was in town, I would be there. And unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was a Saturday evening, about 8:30, I got that call where we had a double homicide over on Australian Avenue. Threw on some clothes and went over there and walked around. And I tell you, there is nothing that cuts deeper than when you look into the eyes of a mother or a daughter who's lost their relative to gun violence. It was fresh. The bodies were still on the parking lot. They were covered with a tarp, but the emotions were very fresh. Having experienced that, it made me even more committed, and I left there saying enough is enough. Now, I'm not saying that, Chief Mooney or any other chief, if Chief Adderley had been there, that it may not have happened. But what it did is it heightened to me the importance of addressing this situation head on. And I just felt some changes need to be made at the top.
What can you say to residents who question Chief Adderley's position in the Broward Sheriff's Office when Parkland happened?
And that's a very good question. Listen, what happened in Parkland was a tragic loss of life. In our hearts, even a year later, we ache for those who lost their family members to senseless violence. But I think it's unfair for anyone to suggest that Chief Adderley, who was, believe the number 2 in command at that point, had any responsibility for it. He hadn't been with the Broward Sheriff's Office that long. And I believe that he was just a victim of a clean house sweeping. His boss and several others who were in that department all got swept out as a result of the response to that tragic incident. I think if you're going to judge Chief Adderley, you need to look at his 8 years as the police chief of Fort Lauderdale and his record of success there. And that's what I'm looking at as the chief of police, the number 1 in command for a city that's very comparable in size to West Palm Beach. It suffers some of the same problems that West Palm Beach suffers. And that's why I'm confident he is the best man for this job.
Can you clarify to the residents of the city, is this a demotion for Chief Mooney as far as salary? I know obviously title, which is not chief anymore, but can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, if you judge demotion by less money, no, she's making the same money that she was making as chief.
Just the title is different.
The title is different, yes, and her responsibilities clearly are different. But I think she will do a wonderful job in this position.
How can you be sure Chief Adderley is the best man for the job if he's the only one you looked at?
Well, listen, and I guess that speaks to why we didn't do a nationwide search. We could look far and wide. It's interesting because the last time we did a nationwide search, Chief Adderley was on the selection committee, all right? And
When was that?
when we hired Damasi under former Mayor Jerry Moyo. And I think another reason why I believe this is the right move is I'm not talking about maintaining the status quo of the police department. I am talking about injecting change into the department. And I go back to his record in Fort Lauderdale, a similar population size, similar regional issues, and I believe it makes him the best candidate for this job. We could spend money and we could spend time, and we may end up at the same place that we are today. I'm confident in this decision, and I will stand by this decision, and I will stand behind Chief Adderley.
Do we know if this decision, or do you know if this decision had anything to do also with transition team? Did they give some feedback already, or was this something that you had been thinking about for some time?
This decision is solely my decision.
And moving forward, the transition team will now be working with, I assume, if he's approved by the commission, Chief Adderley?
Yes, and whatever again, the transition team is the mayor's transition team, so they will be making recommendations to me. To the extent they want to hear from Chief Adderley after his appointment, that's fine. I'm sure he will entertain them and give them that audience that they need.
When you mentioned cultural dynamics, similar cultural dynamics, what did you mean exactly?
Demographics. There's a significant African-American community, a significant Hispanic community. It's South Florida, and whatever issues that raises.
What are your plans for having, if Chief Adderley is approved, going into and starting a different
Well, he is a strong believer in community policing, and I know that Chief Mooney was as well. So I'm confident and optimistic, quite frankly, that that vision will continue. He may want to tweak it somewhat. And I think, though, that in my conversations with him, he does share the desire to really get this violent crime under control. One of the things I've talked to him about, which he has agreed to, is implementing a violent crime task force. We used to have it years ago, and that would involve working with the Sheriff's Department, probably the city of Riviera Beach, but really taking some strong steps to cleaning out those neighborhoods, not only of murders, getting rid of those guns, getting rid of drugs, working with the ATF, the Sheriff's Department, DEA, and really try, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about a huge geographical area in our city. It's a few blocks. If we can't clean that up, then what are we doing here from a public safety standpoint? I've had that conversation with Chief Adderley. He gets it.
When you were campaigning for mayor, did you hear from the residents that there needed to be a change, or these issues came up, or?
Well, I didn't hear that there needed to be a change in the leadership. Listen, there are a number of people still to this day who love Chief Mooney. I like her personally. And there are many people who reached out to me when they were hearing rumors that, oh, no, don't fire the chief, don't fire the chief. But today's decision is being made on what I think is best for the city of West Palm Beach. Now, to a person, they were disturbed about what's going on in our city. And I'm not talking not just talking about people who resided in those neighborhoods. I'm talking about business people downtown who are concerned about the reputation of West Palm Beach and the detrimental impact on their ability to attract businesses here. When West Palm Beach is tainted with violent murders, all right, and there was one publication that last week I saw a headline that described West Palm Beach as the murder capital of Florida. That's not the kind of city that I want to be mayor of. So I'm doing what I think is best to get us off of that top line when it comes to violent murders in our city.
Mayor, new police chief, implementation of bringing back that task force, what are the changes are you seeing down the road?
Well, listen, I don't want to put words into Chief Adderley's mouth. I want him to get in, obviously do an assessment, see what the personnel is like, let him get his sea legs, but he understands and agrees with me that this is a matter of top priority. We got to do something in those neighborhoods, and I believe that he will jump on that right away. I'm encouraging him to jump on that right away.
Anything else you'd like to add, Mayor?
No, thank you for your time, and I hope that the resident, listen, when I say public safety is job one, I mean that residents, whether you reside in Ibis or whether you reside in the historic Northwest, you're entitled to a safe, secure neighborhood. And that is what I'm working on. These decisions are geared toward making our city as safe as possible. And that's what we're trying to do with these decisions today.
One more question, if you don't mind. When you mentioned the need for emergency management services, not just related to hurricanes, wondering if there are any recent events or incidents, other than storm-related, that led you to say that?
Well, listen, I look at the news like everybody else. I mean, and you don't want to wait until the incident happens, right? You don't want to wait till you have a train wreck with poisonous gases leaking out. You don't want to wait till you have a terrorist attack. You know, our president lands in an airport in our county whenever he comes down here. So we are, and as evidenced by, frankly, cyber attacks on our system, we, West Palm Beach, we are a target. And so what I don't want to do is wait until it happens and then react. I'd like to be more proactive along these lines. And again, I'm so grateful and appreciative for Chief Mooney agreeing to step over into this capacity.
Mayor, do you know if there was anyone else interested within the department? Someone that's been in the community for years and around the city?
No one had reached out to me. Frankly, it was important for me to bring somebody in from outside the department.
Why is that?
Reason being?
The reason being that I didn't think that we were making progress the way I wanted to make progress. And I think it's time for a fresh set of eyes to look at the department, to see if we can move to where we need to be, where I think we need to be as a city. You know, there's a saying, and I'm sure you all have heard it, the definition of insanity is you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. I'm not going to be happy with the same results. I think that's why I strongly believe a change was needed, and we need to bring somebody in from the outside.